The day he lost everything, she walked out, no goodbye, no tears, and ran straight into the arms of his billionaire best friend. Everyone thought the story ended there. But they were wrong. Because the man she divorced when he went broke didn't stay down for long, and when he came back, he didn't come for love, he came for payback. What happened next turned their perfect world upside down. For years, Ethan Cole was the face of success in New York. A billionaire genius who built his company from scratch, the kind of man magazines called the American Dream. He had the mansion, the cars, and the perfect wife, Lana, beautiful, elegant, and admired by everyone who met her. They looked unstoppable together. The kind of couple people secretly envied. But behind closed doors, cracks were already forming. Ethan was too busy chasing deals. Lana was tired of waiting for affection that never came. And when Ethan's company hit a financial storm, their love became the first casualty. It started small, a bad investment, a failed merger, a few rumors about debts. But in the world of billionaires, one whisper can destroy everything. Within months, Ethan's empire collapsed like a house of cards. He went from flying private jets to taking taxis. From signing million-dollar contracts to begging banks for extensions. From living in a mansion to sleeping alone in silence. But the worst part wasn't losing the money, it was losing Lana. She didn't even pretend to care. The morning the bankruptcy papers went public, she quietly packed her things. No argument, no drama. Just a folded note that said, "I can't do this anymore." Ethan found her wedding ring on the counter beside an untouched cup of coffee. That same evening, photos flooded the internet. Lana smiling at a charity event, her hand locked in the arm of Benjamin Hart, Ethan's closest friend and business rival. The headlines were brutal. Billionaire's wife moves on with his best friend. Ethan didn't move, didn't speak. He just stared at the screen, the betrayal slicing deeper than any financial loss could. Benjamin, the man who once toasted to their friendship, was now holding his wife like she'd always belonged to him. The media called it a perfect match. But to Ethan, it was a knife to the heart. Days turned into weeks. Reporters camped outside his house. Former partners avoided his calls. Eventually, he sold everything, the mansion, the cars, the office building with his name on it. He moved into a small Brooklyn apartment, far from the life he once ruled. The man who had once controlled millions now stood in line for coffee like everyone else. And for a while that was okay. It was quiet, peaceful even. But every night he thought of her. Of how easily she walked away. Of how quickly she replaced him. One afternoon, months later, fate decided to mock him again. Ethan was standing in a crowded cafe when the door opened, and there she was. Lana walked in, wearing a designer dress that shimmered under the light, her laughter echoing like a ghost from another life. Beside her stood Benjamin, confident, polished, everything Ethan used to be. They hadn't seen him yet. But when Lana turned and their eyes met, her smile froze. For a second no one spoke. Then Benjamin cleared his throat and forced a smile. "Ethan. Wow, it's been ages." Ethan nodded slowly. "Yeah, it has." Lana didn't say a word. She just looked at him, not with love, not even pity, but with guilt. A kind of regret she couldn't hide. Ethan's heart pounded, but his face stayed calm. He smiled faintly, nodded, and walked past them without another word. As he stepped out into the cold New York air, something in him shifted. The pain that once broke him turned into something sharper, something stronger. That moment he made a silent promise. He would rebuild. He would rise. And when he did, they would both remember the man they threw away. Because Ethan Cole was done being the broken billionaire. He was about to become something much more dangerous. Months passed. Ethan Cole was no longer the man people pitied. While the world thought he'd disappeared, he had been quietly working, rebuilding his life, one calculated move at a time. He started small. Consulting for struggling companies, giving advice to small investors, teaching young entrepreneurs how to avoid the mistakes he once made. What began as a survival plan turned into something powerful. Ethan had something most people didn't experience. He had seen success and failure from both sides, and that made him sharper than ever. Within a year, his quiet consulting business turned into a major investment group, Cole Strategic Holdings. And this time Ethan didn't chase fame. He stayed silent, strategic, and invisible, the man behind the curtain. Meanwhile, Lana's perfect life was beginning to crack. Her marriage to Benjamin looked flawless on the outside. Lavish trips, luxury cars, magazine covers, the works. But behind closed doors, things weren't so golden. Benjamin was not the man she thought he was. He was colder, more controlling, and cruel in ways Ethan never was. He didn't listen. He didn't care about her opinions. And he never forgot to remind her that he saved her, that if it weren't for him, she'd be just another ex-billionaire's wife begging for attention. Lana smiled in public, but she cried in silence. It hit her one night when she scrolled through an old photo of Ethan, smiling at her during their vacation in Italy, back when everything still felt real. Her chest tightened. She tried to shake it off, but guilt crept in like smoke she couldn't escape. She'd left Ethan because she thought money defined power. But Benjamin had money, not heart. And she was learning painfully that the two weren't the same. Then came the twist she didn't see coming. Benjamin had made a massive business deal, a merger that was supposed to take his company global. But the deal suddenly fell through. Millions lost overnight. Investors pulled out. And for the first time, Benjamin panicked. What happened? Lana asked one night, watching him pace the room. Someone sabotaged the merger, he snapped. A new firm came out of nowhere and took the contract before we could sign it. Cole Strategic Holdings. Lana froze. The name hit her like a ghost whispering her past. Cole? She whispered. Yeah, Benjamin said, rubbing his temples. Some low-profile investment group run by a man named Ethan Cole. Her heart skipped. She tried to speak but couldn't. Ethan? That couldn't be true. He was supposed to be gone, ruined, forgotten. But he wasn't. He was back. And now he was strong enough to compete with Benjamin himself. That night, Lana couldn't sleep. She sat in bed, staring at the city lights, memories flooding her mind, the way Ethan used to hold her, his quiet strength, the promises she broke. Was this revenge? Was he coming for them? The next morning, Benjamin stormed into his office only to find out something worse. Ethan's firm wasn't just competing. It was winning. Every client they once had was now switching to Ethan's side. And the man didn't even appear in public. He let his actions speak. While Benjamin's empire shook, Ethan's grew silently. But fate wasn't done crossing their paths. One weekend, at a major charity gala downtown, the same kind of event Lana used to love, she saw him again. Ethan walked in wearing a classic black suit, calm, confident, radiating quiet authority. People turned their heads, whispering his name like he'd never left. For a moment, Lana couldn't breathe. Their eyes met across the room and time froze. The same man she abandoned when he was broken now stood taller than ever, richer, stronger, and untouchable. She tried to smile, but Ethan didn't look at her with anger or love. His expression was unreadable. When she finally gathered the courage to approach him, her voice trembled. Ethan, you look different? He interrupted softly. Yeah. Losing everything changes a man. Her eyes welled up. I didn't mean for things to happen like that. Ethan gave a faint, bitter smile. Sure you didn't. Before she could say another word, he turned away, shaking hands with a group of investors, the same ones Benjamin had lost. Lana stood there, frozen, watching the man she once left for being broke now become the man her husband couldn't compete with. For the first time in years, she realized something painful. Ethan didn't lose her. She lost him. But what she didn't know yet was that Ethan's rise wasn't just success. It was part of a quiet storm he'd been building for a long time. And soon, that storm was going to destroy everything she and Benjamin had built together. By now, Ethan Cole's return had become the whisper of every business circle in New York. The man who once lost everything was now silently buying back power, and no one saw it coming. Every company that Benjamin once controlled was now slipping away one by one. His investors were leaving him for Ethan's firm, his projects were collapsing, and the press began calling it the Cole comeback. But to Ethan, it wasn't just business. It was personal. He told himself it wasn't about revenge, that it was about redemption, rebuilding what he lost. But every time he saw Benjamin's face on a magazine cover beside Lana, the fire inside him burned hotter. He wanted peace, but part of him wanted them to feel the same pain he did, the pain of betrayal, humiliation, and loss. Still, there were moments when Ethan wondered if he was crossing a line. His assistant, Maya, a sharp and loyal woman who had been with him since he started rebuilding, often noticed the shift in his tone. "Sir," she said one evening, gently closing his office door, "you've already won. Whatever you're trying to prove, you've proved it. Maybe it's time to let it go." Ethan looked up from his desk, eyes distant. "Let it go? Maya, she left me when I was nothing. He betrayed me. And now they live like saints while I'm painted as the failure." Maya hesitated, then said softly, "But if you destroy them completely, what does that make you?" He didn't answer. But her words stuck in his mind like a seed that refused to die. Meanwhile, Lana's world was falling apart behind the glamorous photos. Benjamin had become restless, paranoid, and cruel. Every night, he argued with her, blaming her for his losses. "This all started when you came into my life," he shouted one night, slamming a glass against the wall. "Ever since I married you, everything's gone downhill." Lana stared at him, her voice trembling. "You're losing because of your own greed, Benjamin. Stop pretending it's my fault." His glare was cold. "Don't talk to me like that." The tension in their home was unbearable. Reporters started digging into their finances. Whispers of bankruptcy circled like vultures. And for the first time, Lana realized how fast karma could move. Then came the moment that shattered everything. One evening, while going through Benjamin's drawer looking for a document, Lana found an envelope marked private. Curiosity got the best of her. Inside were copies of emails, messages between Benjamin and an unknown woman. At first, she thought it was just business. But the deeper she read, the clearer it became. Benjamin had been cheating. And the woman wasn't just anyone. She was one of Ethan's former employees. Lana's hand shook. The betrayal cut deeper than she expected. She had destroyed her first marriage for this man, and he had been lying to her all along. Tears streamed down her face as the realization sank in. She had married her punishment. Days later, she attended another gala, alone this time. Benjamin was avoiding public events, hiding behind boardroom doors. Lana stood in a quiet corner, staring into her glass of champagne, her mind spinning. Then she heard a voice behind her, calm, familiar, piercing. "Funny, isn't it? How tables always turn." She turned around. Ethan stood there, hands in his pockets, eyes steady. Lana's breath caught. "Ethan, I didn't expect to see you here." He smiled faintly. "I didn't expect you to be alone." She looked down, ashamed. "Things haven't exactly been perfect." "I know," he said. "Benjamin's been making headlines, just not the kind he used to." There was silence between them, thick with history and regret. Finally, Lana whispered, "Are you doing this to him?" "To us." Ethan tilted his head slightly. "Doing what?" "Destroying him," she said, voice cracking. "You've taken everything from him the same way I took everything from you." Ethan didn't answer. His gaze softened, but his silence said it all. She stepped closer, her eyes glistening. "If you're trying to hurt him, you already have. But if you're trying to hurt me," her voice broke, "you already succeeded long ago." Ethan's chest tightened. For the first time, he saw not the woman who betrayed him, but someone broken, just like he once was. He wanted to speak, but before he could, Lana turned and walked away, tears streaming down her cheeks, disappearing into the crowd. Later that night, Ethan sat alone in his penthouse office, staring at the city lights. Maya's words echoed in his mind. "What does it make you if you destroy them completely?" He realized something haunting. Revenge had made him rich again, but not happy. And deep down, he knew the story wasn't over. Because the next morning, a single envelope arrived at his office. No name, no return address. Inside it was a photograph. It was of Lana, standing outside a hospital, holding something that would change everything Ethan thought he knew about their past. Ethan Cole stared at the photograph for a long time, his fingers trembling slightly. It wasn't just the picture that shook him, it was the date written on the back. 3 years ago. The photo showed Lana standing outside St. Mary's Hospital, holding a small bundle wrapped in a white blanket. Her eyes were red from crying, her face pale but soft, not with guilt, but with something deeper. Pain and love. Ethan frowned. He turned the photo over again, reading the date once more. It was taken just weeks after their divorce. His mind raced. Why was she at a hospital? And what was she holding? He didn't want to believe it. But the thought wouldn't leave him alone. That night he barely slept. He kept picturing Lana's face in that photo, fragile, human, and nothing like the cold woman who left him. By morning he couldn't take it anymore. He called a private investigator he trusted. "Find out everything about this picture," he said. The date, the hospital, who she visited, everything. 2 days later, the investigator came back with a file. "Sir," he said quietly, placing the envelope on Ethan's desk, "there's something you need to see." Ethan opened it slowly. Inside were hospital records and a birth certificate. His world stopped. Father's name, Ethan Cole. Mother's name, Lana Cole. Child's name, Emma Cole. Ethan dropped the paper, his heart pounding. A daughter. He had a daughter. And Lana never told him. He leaned back in his chair, struggling to breathe. Anger and disbelief twisted inside him. Why would she hide something this big? Why didn't she tell him? He drove straight to her apartment. When Lana opened the door, her eyes widened in shock. "Ethan? What are you?" He held up the photo. "You want to tell me what this is?" Her face drained of color. She stepped back, whispering, "You weren't supposed to find out like this." "Find out what?" he demanded, his voice cracking. "That you had my child and kept her from me? That while I was rebuilding my life, you were raising our daughter alone?" Tears filled Lana's eyes. "Ethan, please." "Why, Lana? Why would you hide this from me?" She took a shaky breath. "Because when you lost everything, you lost yourself too. You shut me out completely. You were angry, broken, and I was scared. I didn't know if you could handle another responsibility. Then when I found out I was pregnant, it was too late, you were gone. And when I saw you rebuilding your life, I thought maybe it was better if I stayed out of it." Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to yell, but her tears stopped him. "Benjamin doesn't know," she continued quietly. "He never knew. He was just a mistake, a way to escape the emptiness I felt after losing you." The room went silent. For the first time in years, Ethan didn't see his enemy. He saw the woman he once loved, scared, flawed, but human. "Where is she?" he asked softly. Lana turned toward a small bedroom door. A few seconds later, a little girl ran out, dark brown curls, bright green eyes, a smile that hit Ethan like lightning. "Emma, this is," Lana's voice broke, "this is your dad." The little girl's eyes lit up. "My daddy?" Ethan's throat tightened. He knelt, tears forming as he whispered, "Yes, sweetheart. I'm your daddy." She hugged him, small arms wrapping around his neck, and in that moment all the pain, betrayal, and anger melted away. It didn't matter who left whom. It didn't matter who won. This right here was what mattered. Months later, Ethan and Lana sat together at a park bench, watching Emma play. Things weren't perfect, but they were peaceful. Lana turned to him. "I'm sorry for everything, Ethan." He nodded slowly. "I'm sorry too. Maybe we both had to lose everything to understand what really mattered." She smiled faintly. "Do you think we'll ever start over?" Ethan looked at her, then at their daughter laughing in the sunlight. "Maybe not start over, but maybe start right." They sat in silence, the city humming around them, and for the first time in years Ethan felt free, not because he won his revenge, but because he let it go. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional stories like this one. What would you do if your ex hid your child from you for years? Do you believe people like Lana deserve forgiveness, or should Ethan have walked away for good? Would you have taken revenge, or chosen peace like Ethan did?